We are live on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Okay, we are
The
live.
tone, the tone of my voice does not change. I am, I am the same, forever and always. The tone of my voice is not. Okay, I gotta shut myself up.
Echo, echo, echo.
No, 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 no.
I know.
Oh man. Yes, we're here. We're live.
So, welcome to another round of Auric Stones. This is
Oracle.
like Oracle, sorry, Oracle. Okay, so, yeah, all right. I've just been spending time with Auric Vibe at 11:11, so Auric is on my mind. All right, so we're in the Auric Vibe of the Oracle Stones with Stone.
Oh yeah. We're not
Anyway,
stoned either. At least I'm not.
no, I'm on coffee. Okay,
Good.
I'm on coffee at the moment, and
Good.
and the new member of the household who just
Ah, yes.
turned my life upside down in a moment. So, anyways, please pray for me. I would like to win the lotto numbers
Oh,
so I
oh
can
no.
open up an animal sanctuary. Okay? I now know how Noah's wife felt.
Are you being goated into something?
Oh, mate, it's too late for that. It's already there. Okay. Now I'm at the stage of okay, what's his name going to be? It's already it's already got a name.
Okay. Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it is too late. Oops, sorry, did I mess something up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right, so I think the topic for today, I've shared the link here in the chat in our little private chat thing, so Stone can do her thingy dingy. But there's been, and I think this is kind of a universal thing, especially with what you were just telling me a few minutes ago about, and I think that's important you share about that, whatever you like. But there are definitely frequencies that are coming through, and some people are saying they're natural, and some people are saying no, they're not, and there are a lot of people that will have means of tracking these things
Mm.
and figuring out what they are, and you can believe it or not, it's up to you. um, but what I personally have been experiencing is feeling other people's stuff
Yeah.
and making, and it's becoming, as it's getting more and more potent over, I would say, the last few months. It is um, becoming more evident. We're going to have to not just recognize it, we're also going to have the means to, I don't want to say control it, but keep our own space not clean or clear necessarily, but the idea is to keep us safe. Because you don't want to close everything and everybody off. It feels like you really need to be able to still know what's going on around you. You close that all off, you're going to get smacked in the back of the head. Not maybe
Yeah.
literally, but um, you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
Now I've been noticing that there's a whole new wave that's happening. There's like if you talk shit back in the day to get you where you are right now, if you don't turn around and step up to the plate and be honest about it, it's going to slap you in the head. Okay, there's a wave that is washing over those that cannot stand in their authentic truth. And those that have already been on that path doing that work will recognize it when this comes through. So, this is a time for us to be recognizing the signs, the feeling states, the energies around us. Because, we constantly, I don't like the terminology war, so I change it to raw. So we're constantly in a raw state of growth. And this is us breaking out of the shell. Now we're stepping into, oh, there's something else. We can create this. We can turn this around. We can turn this beautiful planet, this opportunity to turn this place into our Garden of Eden. Whatever that bliss state of your life you would like to live, whether it's with a whole menagerie of animals or whether it's with, a community of people of like minds. This is where we're stepping back into. We're feeling that energy. And we are seeing the rift within people who are trying. If there's a rift going on in somebody's mental capacity, that means that they're fighting themselves. They're fighting their inner knowing. Okay, there's the yes and there's the no, and what's going to be the better outcome. I've got a friend, and we do a everything risk assessment. Okay, if I'm going to put the kettle on, I'm going to be back in time to switch it off from the wall so that I don't forget and it sticks to the elements, and then we have a house fire or worse. Everything thing that we do is under a personal risk assessment, all right? But when you take care of yourself in that line, you're also taking care of those around you. And these are only very little things. So when we've got this big, massive argument going on up here and stuff, because there's an argument, that's the first stage. That is showing you that you don't agree with something else that's been put there. And this is where I work in, and I know that Auric does, work in the deep programming, showing you what is the program and how you are already personally finding your own way to break through that. And if you've got those symptoms, you're like, a tug of war, something going on up there, if you just sit and listen and allow yourself to absorb the language of that feeling state of that other person or being that's going through these stresses, and when you can attune into that, yeah, I mean, you're tuning into yourself. If you're able to tune into yourself and see this and sense this, then you can do it for others. So that's, there you go. I don't know what just happened. I told you it's been a weird week.
It's been a very weird week. It has been an indeed very, very weird week. Um, yeah, I got assigned a whole bunch of new people at work, and just, you know, I and I think when things happen, they happen typically like this will happen this day and this will happen that day and maybe this will happen in the morning and that will happen the evening. I kid you not, everything happened on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Everything happened on frickin' Wednesday. I mean, people in hospitals, people saying this, people saying that, and I was like, oh my. And then getting a whole bunch more assignments, and it's all right. You just kind of go for it and wing it. When you have that confidence in yourself, and this is an energy aspect as well. There were a lot of people. I tell you, I think I can handle a pretty good amount of people coming to me, and we're not talking about, you know, I got a paper cut type stuff. We're talking some,
Yeah.
whether you're breathing or not. So you got to make sure you're on your game, and also to make sure you're going to be able to keep breathing. So that to me says that even though it was kind of like boom, I was like pick up the phone, put it down, write down what's happening. I don't have a chance to even put a note in, and you're just kind of boom, 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 boom. So keeping your cool, no matter what's swirling around you, and keeping it organized is going to be really, really key. And that was like a 3D example. Um, but also I feel like that's something like what you said is the authentic truth. What does that mean to you, Stone? What does the phrase authentic truth mean?
Well, for me, it is the most deepest truth. It is, I, I
Is it
can't,
changeable? Because a lot of people say, well, that's your truth.
yes,
So
it is because we allow ourselves to grow, right? And with growth, we will, the perception that we had of what our truth was, what was real for us back then at that particular time is going to change. because our awareness level has deepened. It is widened. It has allowed us to go deeper into the awareness of that level of truth. So we can keep going deeper and deeper into the truth. So by me holding what I call my authentic truth is something that cannot be argued, cannot be taken away from me, cannot be infiltrated by any of the forces out there, because this is me living it. This is my living essence and experience of what I'm going through. Later on down the track, it's like if we go and do something right now, we're put in a situation, we'll do the best that we can for ourselves, and if we're nice enough, for those around us to get us out of a situation. All right, later on down the track, 10 minutes down the track, it might have been the worst thing we could have bloody done. But with what our knowledge capacity is and our awareness, participation and theory put together, then that's our authentic truth. This is where I take mine from. Mine is from living physical experience, and I am very aware that I don't like the terminology master. So, because master is two very stuck states, they are static states. And so I take it from there because I choose to allow myself, or versions, to grow further, know more about. I mean, we have the opportunity to see that everything around us, there's no limitations to the knowledge of it. What makes up that piece of timber in your house? What makes up that piece of steel that you use to cut? Do you know how to, what carbon actually is?
Yep.
You have this opportunity to dive deep into those areas and find it out for yourself instead of finding it out from stuck states. I'm not
So,
saying that, all the
yeah,
knowledge is bad. We got to have a
yeah.
starting point. So,
Right. And when you were talking about it's almost like you're recognizing the truth that's within you, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's different or wrong than someone else's. You could align with someone because that's your particular experience. I kind of think of the fact that you can have someone say and there are a lot of people. They're standing together and they say, "Oh, look at the fairies," and they're looking at the little, no, the little people, right?
yeah,
And
I've
it's
got.
kind of like, yeah, and somebody else is sitting there going, "Where?" So it's that frequent, right?
Yeah, I
Right?
know it
Yeah.
well.
So it's that is part of that, be that authentic truth. That's why it kind of makes a little bit of a shift for me. Years ago, when I was talking to a mental health therapist, and we had a client come in and ask me to help her do something, and I was not a clinical person. I was definitely administrative. And she came in and she told me this crazy story, and I'm thinking, okay, cool, cool. Well, here's what you need. There's the freaking door. So I went and told the therapist what she had told me, because I felt like, well, if that's not something she had told to him, because a lot of people were doing that. They were these patients and clients were coming up and saying things, and it was like, oh my gosh, okay, okay. So when I went and told him, and I said, okay, so this is what she said, and he goes, and I said, I can't tell you that what she saw didn't happen.
Yeah.
It happened in her reality. I mean, he didn't come out and say that, but I learned a lot from that guy. He was really, really good at getting points across without directly telling you. It was like, I don't know. It was just something weird. Yeah, he's a weird guy. But yeah, I mean, it was just a way that he was able to communicate things. Um, and I think that's part of the success of delivering whatever it is that you have to offer someone else for if they do want help. And coupling that with your authentic truth, you also have to be careful with not everybody is going to be appreciative of your transparency,
Oh, absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
you have to be aware of who is driving their bus so you don't get run over.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. That might
yeah,
make sense, but I feel like I'm a pretty transparent person, but I'm not, I don't want to say I'm sensitive, but I try to realize where someone else's boundaries are. There are things that I can say to Stone that I'm not going to say to somebody else.
yeah,
I mean, that's just how it works because that's part of our communication. That's the beauty of being able to communicate properly and
yeah.
communicate well with people. You know, what is that old say? You can't. What do you can't? There was something about be speaking. You might as well be speaking. It's like, oh, you might as well be speaking Greek.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I,
oh, it's in the
I
Bible. That's a Bible reference, though.
Oh, I'll have
Sorry.
to look that one up. No, no. I basically take a relationship 50-50. Okay, 50-50 energy. And, if I'm going to step forward to any commitment or any form of communication, I would expect the same in return. So if you think that I'm talking shit, you step up and you say so, so that we can learn what our language is, because our languages are different. We don't just have our cultural backgrounds, we also have the frequency of the locations we're in and we grow up in, and what we're bombarded with. This is what when we step into the programming of it all, I've been through so much programming and been able to identify it that I was able to step out of it. I see it when it tries to creep in and stuff. But the thing is, once you're able to see it and recognize it, then you can go, well, what is it that you want from having an honest conversation with somebody else? Man, I don't want to just sit here and go, the chat, chat, chat. I want to go, yeah, mind meld, nanu, nanu, shows, but let's go. Psh, come on. We've got this opportunity with this amazing vessel, this amazing temple that has all these availabilities, abilities that we can tap into. They're just our senses. And when we can become truly authentic to ourselves, that's when we can recognize these energies within these abilities. And for me, my findings thus far, always under construction, have shown me we can levitate. If we can go into a state where in the dream time, we talk about the dream time sometimes and lucid dreaming and the divination of dreams. Well, when you go start doing your dream journeys and stuff, you'll start seeing, okay, for me, I saw flying fish at my feet. I was a golden orb, but it took me 10 to 15 years to actually see my true reflection, and it may change again, because truth changes due to perception. At this point in time, I was an orb. The same orbs that have come and visited me, and it's like, what's that connection? Why do I keep getting the orbs? And then I go into a dimension, and holy Batman, I'm an orb. So it came down to an energy signature,
Right.
the frequency of who we are, what makes us who we are, and
And it's
that
something
that
that just continue on with your
yeah,
story. But I mean, the idea of is it how you're recognizing that is it was something that felt familiar. Nobody told you that. You didn't hear words. There may have been some sort of a, lack of a better way to put it, mental recognition at some point, but it came after that feeling of alignment. And I don't know if it changed your perception after that or not.
yes. Yeah, my perception
In
is
what way?
always changing. It's always changing. I'm allowing the growth. Once upon a time, I saw greys because of my church going, my background. The Catholic side, everything was angels and demons. Then it went to gargoyles and fairies and pixies and mythological creatures. And then people with powers, and the whole all the way through, vampires, witches, and then aliens, different types of aliens, and then dimensional beings and crafts and What do we got in the photos? This is real. This is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can take a photo of something that I can see so that I can show the world, that's what I just saw. That's what I just
Yeah.
saw, and I could
Yeah.
take a
Yeah.
photo of it.
Yeah.
Then there's that, I can't, if I'm projecting the image from my brain into the camera, wow, wow, what would this world be if we could all do that? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, stand in your truth, because we want to come with genuine findings. So that means we want to be genuine in ourselves. And so, 1 minute, I'm over here in my feeling states and awareness and stuff, and then I'm like, oh, wait on, I just went through that experience, so I can pick up that, that, and that. And so all the perception of everything you went through as a child has suddenly changed. You can see it through third party eyes. You know the feeling states, you know the emotions, you still feel a little tug here and there, but now you can read the experience from a different, why did such and such do such and such to such and such, and this is the outcome. You look at that it's not about making excuses for perpetrators of free will or whatever it is that they've perpetrated. It's about recognizing that they had that opportunity to change there and then, and they didn't. Okay, so that's where the energy harvesting stops. They are no longer welcome to any of your energy. When you start recognizing your worth, your energy, right, you start saying, no, I'm not going to share it with you anymore. So when you get your energy back into alignment, then we can go, well, I can give you this much energy, but this is what I require in return. And if you stick to that clarity, because this is what it's about if you want to have a communication with any being out there, I really highly recommend you are very specific, you are very clear in your thought, and because your brain and your body can't tell the difference between thought and action, you can think it 100 times and then suddenly go out there and do it like you're a professional, knowing you've never done it before. Programming. You can do it
What?
yourself. You can rewire yourself.
So there's
Yep.
also that frequency of an ancestral tie.
Yep.
There's an ancestral memory. There's a genetic memory, not just within what we've been embodied in, but there's also a definite tie to all of that history that goes back, and it's not even necessarily biological. I think it's whatever you have chosen to embody in this particular place and time or whatever place and time, and you kind of take a lot of that stuff on. So when you hear about people saying, oh, you've healed all this ancestral trauma, and it's not necessarily it's about you, it's about you coming in as this something that has been aligned with what has been transpiring over these millennia, eon, even if it's 50, 100 years, whatever it is you've come in, you have already been not even necessarily predestined. You still have to do your part. You come
Yeah.
in with that particular encoding, that particular structure, you're now embodying into that physical structure. And that's that part of ancestral ties that you are brought into. Now,
Yeah.
my head is actually going into some of the things that people are trying to posit today is the idea that the earth is a prison planet and it doesn't really belong to humans, and it's being pushed right now because it's trying to devalue who and what humans are. Whether it is they're saying, well, there's too many humans on the earth, we're creating all this pollution, we're running out of water, we're running out of energy resources like oil. All of it is fabricated, to my knowledge, entertainment purposes only.
Absolutely.
Because yes, you just have a little giggle,
Just
but yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing. How many times do people have to post a photograph of a place that was back in 200 years ago, and it's like a coastline? Yes, the
yeah.
oceans are rising, the oceans are receding, and it looks to me like they're the frickin' same.
Yeah.
So who's lying? Who's telling the truth? You
Yeah.
know, and this all goes to trying to get people when you wake people up per se. It's not even waking up. It's making you aware of a particular situation, and it's hopefully going to align you. Because don't throw that baby out with the bathwater. Because there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about today that even 4 or 5 years ago, it's like, what are you nuts? Where's the
Yeah.
psych ward?
Yeah.
And I have to sit there and I have to listen to people. I don't have to believe it, and I have to listen to people what they say and make the best of that. But yeah, I think the whole transparency, being authentic, and that frequency alignment with what we're trying to pull forward now. I also don't really know about, because I've had a lot of physical sensations
Yeah.
that I know are not mine.
Yeah.
And it was something happened. I'm not going to say where I was, but it was where there was a drain in the floor, and I felt like something was, and I was on like a second floor. Something was not good. I'm not going to say it was malevolent, but it did not feel good. And I started to kind of feel like I don't want to be here anymore. I want
Yeah.
to leave. I want to leave the room. And it wasn't like an urgent sense, but this is where the key is that we're sensitively waking up, making ourselves more aware of. We need to act on those things and not ignore them. Pay attention
You
to
gotta
those little.
be-
Hmm?
Yeah. You've got to be aware, like, as well, places where we work, like certain places we're aware of, come with parasitical attachments. Okay. Many of us have had or do have a number of parasites that follow us around and harvest our lush. They feed off us and they put us in. Some of us can be so tempted into, we've had a parasite for such a long time where we're numb to their control and we go into chaotic states. Okay, mental chaotic states where we know something's wrong, but we can't pinpoint it. We start fighting it and we end up in, mental stress. I call it mental stress. Um, so when you were talking then, I was thinking, okay, you felt this energy underneath you, and thinking about places that we work at, what has come in recently? As I look at myself as an experiment all the way through, paranormal, multidimensional, whatever. So if I'm getting an impression that I'm having some senses, like I'll have something lean in over side of me, or one side gets the chills, but the other side won't, or if you feel that that's going on, what did you do? Did you look around and feel what you could pick up? Was it coming from, a client in that premises? Was it coming from deeper in the ground? What was the senses? See, some like myself, palpitations, headaches will tell me whether it's an earthquake or whether it's a volcano or whether it's out there coming in forces. Okay, so what was it for you?
Um, None of the above. And that's why I say it's got to be, seriously, it's got to be, it was just an overall sense of this is not a good place.
Yeah.
This is not a good spot. And I think I've mentioned to you before, I don't think I've said anything publicly as to where it is. So you're probably kind of making an assumption. But I have smelled sulfur.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have heard rumor of tunnels in that
Okay.
particular area. Even where I was working at over the winter was in a very rural area. But when you have in the middle of cornfields and houses that have barely been there for 30 years, and you have this amazing structure and complex of a Catholic church and a rectory and this office building, and then you have this school, and I kind of look at it, and I'm walking through this place, and I'm thinking, this is not what they say it is. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it looked like, but this school is not what they say it is or was. And then when I started, I had a couple, I'm not going to say what they happened to them, but they did share to me what happened to them there. And they thought it was something, biological that had happened to them that kind of freaked them out. She didn't recognize what was going on, but I immediately recognized that it was probably a portal and it was a natural one.
Okay.
And it just opened and she said she kind of righted herself and it was gone. So that was somebody who was definitely asleep, experienced that. And the other thing was everybody was telling me how the place was haunted, and I showed you a couple pictures, and you were able to give me like a bio on a couple of guys, which I thought was kind of cool. But I guess the idea is it's that frequency and the alignment. I was there for a number of months, and I never saw anything. I never heard anything. I never smelled anything. But I was very respectful when I was there of
Yeah.
who and what may be there. I'm not going to say may have been there because clearly whatever what we would say was there is still there in maybe a slightly different manifestation, but it's still there.
Okay. All
So
right.
that's something about that whole frequency and the alignment. And that's why there are such strong with many ancestral ties. But being able to recognize that feeling that I felt was not me. That was not I've had that feeling before and it was much stronger. And I'm thinking, okay, no. And I totally flipped the whole scenario and I was safe for my travels. That's the idea, recognizing that that's not me, but you and I can affect each other's.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and it's important when I was where I was and recognizing that sense of it was very, very mild, but it was like, okay, because I experienced this before. I was on my by myself. I was 5.5 hours from home. I did not want to make that drive home. It was bad weather, and I had to cross this giant bridge. I mean, really big bridge. Uh, and a lot of this was like starting to take advantage. I felt like it was trying to take advantage of me. I said, no, I flipped that. I changed that. I took control of that. And that's where I think that we have control so much of that frequency alignment that we can make that shift
Yeah.
to our benefit. So I kind of feel like, yes, the energy vampires are definitely out there, but it's our responsibility to learn how to not let them take what is not theirs.
Yep. Absolutely. You got,
I played
you got to know.
Invincible. That's where that comes
Yeah.
from.
You got to know what it is
Yeah,
that you want to keep
yeah,
protected or guarded.
yeah,
Once upon a time we were just a being. Okay, got to keep yourself. We didn't know what that meant. We didn't know what it meant to keep ourselves safe. When we find value in who we are, and this is one of the divisions, the split programs that they use at early childhood, when they can divide the mind, because we don't know who we are, and they don't want you to know who you are. So when you start going, okay, I can get rid of all that rubbish now because it's not mine, I recognize it, and that's a journey just to get to that point, and then turn around and go, okay, you go through the anger, you go through. I call it the 12-step program. There's all the anger, shame, blame, guilt game, the psychological back and forward. You did it, no, you didn't. Yes, you did, no, you didn't. There's all these different stages that we go to turn around and go, ah, that wasn't mine.
yep.
And it's nice to meet you, self. How you doing? Let's become friends, okay? Let's kind of work this out together, and spend that little bit of time. Spend that little bit of time with yourself. You're sitting on the bloody toilet, vacuuming, doing the dishes, whatever it is. I recommend you talk to yourself. You know, I remember a day when I got told, see that man over there? He's crazy. Why is he crazy? Because he talks to himself. Later on, see that guy over there? He's crazy. Why is he crazy? Because he talks to himself. But wait a minute, I had a talk to him and he said he gets the best answers because he asks himself. He's not going to lie to himself. And I rather talk to him, myself, than somebody telling me shit. So
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's the truth. That's the truth.
that was a good one. Yeah, no, yeah, you gotta find your own self-worth. I mean, it's really hard to do, As humans, we love companionship. We love being next to each other. We want to have that buddy that we can snuggle up with and we can talk to openly and trust, have that trust factor. All of that stuff, when you rip all that stuff away from you, you've only got one person to rely on for any of that, and that's you. And when you can start doing that for you and you find your inner self-worth, you will attract a different sense of frequency to you. Those that resonate with your frequencies will come in. But at the same time, you have to be able to recognize the real ones of that frequency. Because, like a moth to a flame, the same thing happens on the other side. But you will know more now about yourself because you have something important to take care of, and that's
Right.
your inner self. Through that, you become a portal. You go through your inner child, your shadow work, your inner child shadow work, your higher self connection, and it's endless, right? That's how valuable we truly are. And if we can condense that information and we can be telepathic again, because it was all there. If you can do it in your dimensional states, why are you not bringing it back and doing it in this state? There's no excuse. So we got to live in the state of higher self awareness, risk assessment, everything we do, you know, and allow yourself those mistakes because mistakes, okay, allows you to do it again. That way you don't make the same mistake again. And if you do, then you're accountable for it. But otherwise, you get that chance again to give it another go. Get out there with what you learned and try again. I mean, when I pick up a needle and cotton, I still prick my finger and it still bleeds. you know, Thousands of times. So just, get out there and do it.
Yep.
Find the inner appreciation for who you are and your whole perception of everything around you, including the veils that you thought were thick and heavy, become lighter and you start seeing through them. Right? So, anyway, that's my rant. What's yours?
And well, I think a lot of it is about so how long have I been talking about this? A couple of years now is the aspect of recognizing now we're talking about frequencies of mine, yours, and theirs.
Mm,
You don't necessarily want to separate them, but I guess the idea is that we have that discernment of what needs to go, what you need to embrace, what you need to bring in, what you need to grow, and what you need to let go. Something like that. But and I think a lot of people don't really recognize that. Now I'll kind of maybe I'm not going to give an example, but a lot of times we get comfortable with the chaos. We get comfortable with where we're at. And that's a danger because let's face it, I have this problem. I go see the doctor tells me what to do. and I say, okay, I'll do it. And when I do it, I become fearful because now that place of comfort and knowing is going to be gone.
Yeah.
So I stopped doing it. Well, I couldn't do it. And you start making excuses, and then the excuses start being, reasons. So that's a big aspect of taking control of your own life. And guess what? Growing up,
Yeah.
because a lot of times it's gonna be really uncomfortable for us to let go. I'm not gonna say you. It's uncomfortable for me too. There's a lot of stuff that we are comfortable with managing. Even like coming home at night. I was like, doctor told me all kinds of stuff I had to do. I was like, ah, shit. I'm gonna fit that in my day. I start school on Monday. I'm like, oh, I guess that's the point though, is that if I want to make that change, it's not going to be comfortable. But once you get into it, and for me, because it's very practical, is making a list out.
Yeah.
It's out. It's definitely a 3D thing, but hey, we have to make that list out and make sure that if we want to make the change, if we want to be able to see clearly, if we want to recognize those frequencies we've been talking about, we're not going to do it when there's chaos. And a lot of people will either allow or start little tornadoes, that little butterfly wing that starts the whole madness. The whole I guess the idea is that we ultimately have control over our own realm. I
Yeah.
think somewhere in one of the thingies, the platforms I have, I say that I am the CEO of my realm. So, and that's accurate. That's accurate because I make the decisions of what I accept and reject, and how much of even the things that I accept that I'm going to employ. Doc told me all kinds of stuff. I still have to employ them. I still have to do it. And it so far, just in a couple of, it's been a pain in the butt. But
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to do it because I feel like it's not going to have an overnight result. Damn it. But, you just keep plugging away at it and trusting that what I've been told and what I accept, because I trust this guy implicitly. He's not gonna steer me wrong. If you get an inkling that somebody's telling you something that's off, there's your frequency. There's your
Yeah.
recognition of something that's like, you're getting a little white static. We'll ask about it. Ask the questions. Dude has no problem with me asking questions. There's another cue right there that somebody's really telling you what they feel is going to really help you, and doesn't abide by the boxes, putting people in boxes. And we can't do that with the idea of frequencies and recognition of frequencies. That's why it's so important that we need
Yeah.
each other, because I'm going to see stuff that Stone can't see, and Stone's going to see things that I can't see. So I have a huge respect for everybody that sees things that I can't see, hears things that I can't hear. Things are ramping up for me, just saying, and it's in a somatic way.
Yeah.
And I expect that to really take off for a lot of people over the next 6 months. Don't know
Oh
why.
yeah.
4 to
Yeah.
6 months, it's going to really, it's that snowball.
I think it's going to be faster. I actually get the impression that it's going to be faster. Yeah. I don't know 100% why, but it just feels like it has to be faster.
Yeah.
The fields that we're in, around us, they're condensing. So it's like time is speeding up, everything is speeding up, including like one of the senses that I get is like palpitations, but I know I'm not having them because I do all the tests and everything, and I get others to test me, and it's like, no, you're not having them, but I can feel them. I can feel them. And if I just hold my frequency because of the tune that I do, I can hold that frequency. And when I'm having a palpitation, I can hear it in my palpitation. But there's no other signs of it anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then boom, earthquake.
Yep. Yep. And
And
that's a really good point, because it's not you, it's
yeah,
something from outside of you.
yeah.
It
We're
res
getting sensitive. We're allowing the recognition of these frequencies coming in.
Yeah, I was down there in 2011 through 2014. We didn't know each other then, but and I was in quite a bit further south. I was like 20 minutes from downtown Wellington. But
Yeah,
we were up on a hill and I had really nice views and could see all kinds of cool stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but I guess the point is when I would be sitting down, I would literally get this shock that would go from my my pelvis, but it would be like the base. So your pelvis is at that square and it would be at my back and it would literally shoot in an I couldn't even it was less than a split second and it would
yeah,
hit me in the back of my head. So if you want medical terms, coccyx to occiput. That's and
yeah,
it happened just like that. And sometimes it would get me up out of a chair or I didn't typically feel it if I was walking, but I could feel it sometimes if I was standing. And I don't remember, but I think there's an average of like 10 to 15,000 quakes of all
yeah.
seismic activity there. And I was like, what the hell? So I looked up the USGS and saw that it was, oh, I think it was like a 2 or something like that. It's like, why do I have to feel that? That's so wrong. So yeah, so it's all in your sensitivity of this body. So maybe that was a cue for me to be more aware of what I'm going through now. Maybe that was I don't know, you need some
I, I,
cables
I
to
think
jump your car.
I think I sort of feel like all the frequencies that they bombard us with, because they're aware of, what closer to what we actually are. They know what we closer actually are and the energy that we can produce, the energy that we can generate and how we do it and how we function in these, as a multidimensional being. And in doing that, they block us, they block our senses. So they go out and they make these devices to mimic pleasure for these senses. So we're distracted from actually growing these senses or using these senses to pick up on what's actually happening around us.
Hmm.
Because we are, I can't say that we actually came from this planet or how we got here, but because I know of the cloning programs, as working in pathology, working in horticulture and working on a farm, it's everywhere. Our food that we eat today is so many generations genetically modified that we can still hold on to yesterday 50 to 60 years ago, but it was changed then too. So there's segments. And when you say you had these pains shooting up, there was a stage I went back, if we go back to between 2010 and 2016, there was a stage there where I felt like they were putting me in different types of traction. First in the back lower, then in the legs, as we were talking before we came on, the different forms of dew attacks. And as I don't feel like it feels like some of us, there's two teams. Ones that don't want you to go down certain ways and do what will attack you, and then you've got the other team that are putting this psychic armor on you or physical in other dimensions while to protect you against it. So there's always this forward and backward battle. And I would come back and I would have these pains on my shoulders that for no reason would appear, like I'd been carrying this massive weight. I would have bruise marks where I had been wearing it. Now, this is
Hmm.
coming from somebody who I wore metal armor, heavy chain mail and plate mail for years, 10 years. I trained in it and I loved it. And I knew the bruises, I knew the weight, I knew the strains and stuff. And I also knew that in my later life I would feel it, but this was not that.
Hmm.
Okay. I've analyzed everything I do because of risk assessment, living a hypersensitive reality. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's crazy. So,
Um, So one of the things that I kind of feel like is important, maybe you have a better idea or a better tack to take as far as, I don't know what you've come up with on your reading for what we're going to be going through, because today and tomorrow is the black moon.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so this for here is the August 22nd. So it's going to happen between now and then. New Zealand and U.S., Eastern and Midwestern U.S. are going to go through at the same time. I'm going to be going outside and checking out the dark skies because I just want to kind of see what's going on.
Okay.
Probably take the dog for a walk, maybe. You know, we go out late because it's hot for her. You know,
Yeah.
she's heavy coated, and you know, I just feel bad for her. She was struggling. It's like, when we turn it around already?
Yeah.
But
So that happening at yours this evening? You're now. You're this evening.
mhm.
Okay. All right. I don't remember it happening here last night or this morning, so I might
Yeah,
have time to set up my cameras, security cameras, to see if I see anything.
yeah,
Because, I've been seeing some craft in the distance recently, so who
yeah.
knows? But yes, I do have a reading.
Okay, let's go
All
for it.
right. All right. So mine is this is the larger landscape of what we live in. All right. So my rune, my rune, I got Thieves, which is a reactive force. So this is like knowing your strength, knowing your strength and weaknesses. Not, you don't have to be that berserker. You can actually have strength in holding yourself back, allowing yourself to be in that calm state, that observer state, ready when you need to be. So this is the reactive state. You know your strengths and your weaknesses. You don't need to do the fight and flight. You need to hold position right now. And then the next one I got was I got the horse. I got the freedom. So you break out of any limitations. Once again, you have to help yourself hold yourself back from being flippant or being, having those reactions and those remarks against somebody else. Hold those back right now because the energies are very reactive. So if you say something that doesn't sit with somebody at the moment, but you are aware of the energy you're putting out there, to say it, you're going to get that reaction, but it's going to be more than you bargained for. So that's two so far. And then, okay, and the message that I got for that was um, everything that is here, be grateful for what you have. So to me, it sounds like at this point in time, we need to stay in that calm space. We need to be aware of those around us that aren't aware of the reactive state that's going on at the moment. I get the feeling, I get the senses that this is like sun energy. This is coming through in force, and it's like the stuff that we're going to feel if we start to react. We're feeling the first clean out from that sunburst. It's been lingering for a long time, and now with that sunburst moving it, oh no, they're taking away your feeding supply. Oh no, boom, it's cleared. So there's going to be that bring it back reaction state. You want that back. It may not be yours. It may be the parasite that's attached to you that doesn't want to be discarded. So at this point in time, what I got from that was stay calm, stay in that awareness state, non-reactive. If someone says something to you and you start to feel that trigger, that relax, blow it out. Okay? Just blow it out. Let it go. It's not yours. It's a form of attachment. They're trying to get you entangled in something, energy that you don't need to feed. You are important in what you do. does play a very important role. So there you go. That's my reading for the moment.
All right, so it's kind of interesting you talked about the sun because that flame in the background is a representation of the sun. And this is about empowerment. We are capable of creating our own reality, and the only way of doing that is to get started now. So change your mindset and get off the couch, put down the remote. Um, so think the way has been lit. That's I kind of what I see like the sun is. Um, and if there's something you don't like, change it. Because you have all the tools, you have all the skill, and I. The thing is though, we need to really be careful what we wish for
Oh yeah.
because this is going to manifest right now. I've been really, really careful with being as specifically general as I possibly can over the last few years of what I'm looking to accomplish overall in life. And I'm telling you, things are really starting to rock and roll. Because there needs to be a consistency. It's not just about saying an affirmation; it's about embodying the feeling and that resonancy and the feel and the frequency, if you will. And we can have anything that we want. The thing that's going to be important with this is the aspect of, I think, integrity, consistency, and a good-hearted intention. Um, there is also this kind of an aspect of making sure, and I think you kind of touched on the idea of it a little bit, is the idea of balance.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I don't know, that always, me being a foodie, that looks like pie to me from here. I don't know. Life, death, and shadow, light, sun, moon. There's the sun again. And everything needs to exist and thrive in order for us to help us go through these things. And this is a way for us to clear out some of the negative energies, and we're going to recognize those. And it's about aligning with that frequency and what do we want to bring to the surface and maintain. Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? Are you going to be one of those people that wants to go ahead and live in the chaos and enjoy the chaos and the endorphins that you get from the rush? But I guess the other thing too is there's been a lot of emotional purging, which I've had to do over the last few weeks. Part of that I think is because I had a Reiki session done with a very talented Reiki practitioner. Um, but we need to let go of that stuff because it has some energetic stuff in it, if you will. And the other stuff will it's because it's only going to build up and it's not going to build up good things. So whether it's bad or good, things just happen and we need to let go of it when it's time.
Mm,
And I guess it's kind of like a cyclical thing for some people, but you have to kind of, I've been watching these guys doing the bicycles or motorcycles and they're riding these really crazy, I'm just blown away, these tracks, some of them were like logs. And one guy was going through the Alaska pipeline on a push bike, and it was like, oh my God, I'd be like tripping. It was like you kind of feel like I'll get sucked into that and I'll feel like I'm there. As I got to be careful. Yeah, because if the dude falls, I'm cooked, right?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I guess that idea is that we have control over what we're going to focus on.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, I think you talked a little bit about it, like we don't really we don't really our brain doesn't know, our subconscious does not know any different.
Yeah.
If you think about something, if you imagine something, that's what's happening. And if you're consistent with that imagination, guess what, you're going to bring that into your life.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, I could have never imagined it. It's like, well, you probably did. Because anything is possible in your mind, right? So we can play around with it. So imagination is a significant part. It's the starting point to our manifestation process. It's just something that's sustained. When you sustain that imagination, you foster feelings, and hopefully it's going to be something you want to have happen.
Oh,
Otherwise, you're going to be in deep dookie because you're the one who created it, and that's why I think that no matter what happens to us, we need to take ownership of it because we put ourselves in that position. And we also might find ourselves that we are inspiring ourselves to action later, but we need to keep our eyes. It's like peeled for like a subconscious information that can come through like through daydreams, fantasizing, and that's all going to come through in our what do you call it, subconscious. So I don't know. Was that deep? I don't know.
yeah, I liked it. I liked
Right.
it.
Right. That's good.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, that was
So,
kind of.
okay.
Hmm?
Yep. No, that's right. I pulled three more cards.
Okay.
Well, I pulled one, but three fell out. Okay, so I got the pursue the happiness. So never apologize for what brings you joy. Only understand where you truly belong and where you come from. Find your safe place. Okay, so you've got to find your safe place. And then the next one I got was do it your way, which is pretty much the same as what we were saying. You were never meant to fit in. Well, that's obvious. You were born to be a wild and free force of nature, here to build new and better worlds. Allow yourself to go and do that. So, this is the opportunity. Once again, this is the opportunity where we can either play their games and be that way and want that old historical stuff that doesn't fit with us,
Right.
right? The old AI and all of that back there, or we can step back into and we could still have technology, but as long as once we become aware of the damages and the long term and the short term effects of it, we know how to use it with a bit more respect so for ourselves so we don't get harmed and for the environment. There's ways we can step up to the plate and do this, whereas there's those out there who've just gone out there and they don't really give a shit. When people ask me, when you're in contact with different beings out there, how do you know whether they're good or bad? And for me, it comes down to what has the pattern been? What have they shown me along the way? What have I been through along the way? Feeling state. Do I trust them? And I know that if somebody was meeting one of these beings for the first time, they'd be in a panic state. This is how we are. We go through these different stages of having to learn the body language, the mind language, the physical and verbal languages of different beings. And the eyes, the body language, just you can hear without actually using your ears, you can hear the body language. And when we do that for ourselves and everything around us, then we have a bit more respect for anything else coming in. We start communicating with it differently because we're communicating with ourselves differently. And where I'm at personally, I know I say it a lot, yeah, 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 you. But from where I'm seeing with the findings and everything, we can manifest a peaceful environment where there is no shortage of roof overhead, beds for everybody to lay in warm, food in everybody's belly. You know, when you drive around the landscape, when you're allowed to leave your quarters and drive out there, which they're trying to shut down once again, trying to put you into these boundaries and forcible borders that nobody asked for. You're only allowed to drive so far. You're going to be taxed this. We got a new one that came through today. New Zealand, anything you buy from outside New Zealand now has a 15% tariff added onto it. Even after, even after egg said 10. So that's going to cause a lot of tension, is going to cause a lot of stress for people. Everything is going to go up over the scale. This is going to be another economic tighten your belt a bit more. Um, so there's a bit of stress and strife like that coming for everywhere under different farming. I see every country as a farm, and this is what this farm puts out. Nothing goes to waste over here, and we'll trade that with you over there. But we've got to get your goods first, or because you didn't pay up, we're going to take such and such a piece of your land against the people that actually were here beforehand, against the people's rights. So people are waking up to these different areas of system programming. Be calm is all I can say. Don't over, I mean, one of the biggest things is when you recognize you're overthinking something, all right? And the best way I say is write a list. If something is bothering you really bad, write down the time, the date, what it is that's bothering you, and just put one mark. Dunk, one mark. And then when it hits again, recognize that you're developing a pattern. Okay, go back, mark it down. Then you can see the patterns unfolding. This becomes overthinking. When you can see a pattern happening more than 3 or 4 times within a very short span, like you're in labor, you're in mental labor, overthinking. Something's going to crack, something's going to birth that you don't need. you know, that's how I see it. That's how I see it. I work with, OCD, Tourette's, the bloody works, okay? We've all got a version of it. This is these go hand in hand with our senses. This is another form of communication. If you're I see versions of ADHD is like da 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 constantly, and finishing faster than a person can click a mouse or type a word and go here, go there, go there, go there. I have that, and I have to tell myself, slow down, slow down. We've only got one set of hands here, you know. So it's slow ourselves down to see what the bigger picture is that's going on around us. Because by being so up here, we're not seeing what's happening really in front of us. Are there road cones around you? What's the weather going on around you? There's all these areas that we go, okay, we're distracted over here. There's a volcano, there's a tragedy. Oh my God, look what's just happened there. Meanwhile, we forgot about this side. Now we've got to be able to adapt to every situation that shows itself. And the only way we can do that is in a calm state. So the last one I got was starlight. Ah, okay. Don't slow down. No, no, it is more than that. It says, don't slow down manifestation, okay, through hesitation or worry. So, you know what you want. You know what you want your universe to be, your surroundings to be. We want a little more calmness. We want to be able to go out there and enjoy a blue sky, right? With fresh air. And we want to be able to remember what that fresh, crisp water tasted like, not that polluted stuff that's in the taps, not that polluted stuff that gets boiled, which is concentrated, and then put onto your skin. Because we love hot water, we're addicted to heat. We open up our pores and take in those toxins that have been concentrated. And then, boom, what do you know? Oh, you've got skin cancer. Oh, no, the sun did it.
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, and it's the topical stuff too. I mean that's a whole other topical topic. But
Oh,
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
It is. We're stepping into a time where we now take responsibility and accountability for ourselves and for our actions, because we can't care for those around us if we haven't taken proper care of ourselves.
no,
Mental and physical hygiene are very important, because these are telltale signs that we're being affected or infected by the frequencies around us. And that might mean you live too close to someone. You have someone in your house that doesn't resonate the same frequency. They
yeah,
might be they might be having frequency bombs themselves and coming home and dropping their load on you. and then you take it on. So be aware of what is out there and what's yours and what's not yours. You don't have to accept it.
Correct.
What
Amen,
else?
sister.
Oh yeah, man. What a rant today. 111.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
a
yeah,
rant today.
yeah. So, all
Yeah.
right. So we're gonna go ahead and put some. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see what happens. And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I guess it's tickety boo time.
Yeah, nice quiet time today. You can see everybody's already going into that cocoon state. Oh, and what are they going to come out like on the other side? It's going to be a butterfly or it's going to be a bat.
I don't know. I like my bats. I'll go outside at night and watch the bats eat the mosquitoes. I'm up for that.
Okay, no, I hear them, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen any recently. Down at the old place, I used to see them all the time. You could
Okay.
hear them. Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. All right. Well, again, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and I hope everybody has a great whatever time of day it is, wherever you're at. And